Welcome back to Basic Bits and Pieces, Biology Lesson 6. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about chemistry, specifically matter in the periodic table, and amphibians. So let's go ahead and get started. So you might be asking yourself, why are we talking about chemistry in biology class? That is a great question. The fact is, the physical and life sciences influence each other. They interact. So there's a possibility that you would be talking about geology, chemistry, or even physics in biology class. So it's important to know the basics that would influence your studies. So what exactly does chemistry have to do with biology? Well, living things are made of matter, and chemistry deals with the interactions of matter. And so when we talk about chemistry in biology, we're talking about the interactions of the matter that you're made of, or the matter that could influence your body. So matter is anything that has mass and volume, and it can be living or non-living things. So a rock is matter. Air is even matter. A desk is matter. A child is matter. A cat is matter. These are all made of matter because they have volume and mass. What isn't made of matter? Well, your thoughts aren't made of matter. Concepts that we have in our minds are not made of matter. So the concept of freedom is not matter. It's a non-living thing that you can't quantify. So matter is quantifiable. So what are the states of matter? The states of matter, using water as an example, are ice as a solid, water as a liquid, and gas or vapor would be the steam, like when you were to make tea and the steam tells you that the tea is done. Plasma is also a state of matter, but we will not deal with it very often because plasma is in the stars. What are the classifications of matter? Matter can be classified as a mixture or a substance. So mixtures can be homogeneous, such as air. When a mixture is homogeneous, that means that the mixture is complete. It's smooth. You cannot tell what the parts are without a special test or without knowing what parts you put in. A heterogeneous mixture would be something like sand. So you can tell when you look at sand that there are bits of gravel in there. There could be even bits of glass in the sand. And then there's a little bit of dirt. So a heterogeneous mixture is not completely mixed. It's not completely smooth. You can still tell what the different parts are. So matter can be a mixture, which is either homogeneous or heterogeneous. Matter can also be a substance, and that can be a compound or an element. So an element is one or more atoms that come together. So hydrogen is an element. Carbon is an element. A compound is two or more atoms that come together to make something new. So a compound would be water. One oxygen to two hydrogens is a compound. So compounds are substances which are matter, and elements are substances which are matter. So the basic building blocks of matter. When we talk about biology, we talk about cells being the basic building blocks of life. If it is a living thing, it has at least one cell in it. Atoms are the basic building blocks of matter. All cells have atoms. So atoms are the basic building blocks of matter. They are the smallest units of matter that are made up of protons, electrons, and neutrons. The essential elements for life or the elements that you would be studying in organic chemistry primarily are oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. There are other elements that would be included in organic chemistry studies and that influence life, such as the trace elements of calcium, sodium, potassium, and iron, things like that. And these influence the state of being in life, so you would have to study their interactions. However, oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen make up approximately 96% of the human body. They make up a great percentage of living creatures, living things, with carbon being extremely important for anything that is alive. What is the periodic table? Well, the periodic table is an accomplishment of science where we were able to quantify the naturally occurring elements. There are 92 naturally occurring elements. However, there are more elements which are not naturally occurring that we're able to synthetically make. And the elements consist of atoms of the same kind with a certain number of protons, electrons, and neutrons. We're able to figure out the atomic mass, and based on these things we can do calculations for the percentage of atoms in a given substance. And so the periodic table gives us a way or a reference sheet for understanding chemical reactions, for understanding the chemical makeup of a piece of matter. So this is a periodic table example. I've retrieved this from the NIH website, and you'll see that it has a key for how to read it. So your atomic number is on top. So for hydrogen, the atomic number is 1. The symbol is the large letter in the middle. So for hydrogen, the symbol is H. The name is underneath. So H is hydrogen. And then the chemical group is on the bottom. So hydrogen is a non-metal. All right, so if we look over, so hydrogen is number 1, number 6 is carbon, number 7 is nitrogen, and number 8 is oxygen. If we look at the column that starts with 2, 10, 18, 36, 54, 86, and 118, those are the noble gases. So you'll learn about those in chemistry, and you'll also see that there's different colors. These are different chemical groups. And so some of these are metals, some of these are transitional metals, some of these are non-metals, some of these are gases. And the purpose of the periodic table is to give science and scientists a way of quantifying the basic building blocks of matter, that is atoms, and to understand how they interact. So we've talked a lot about chemistry today, and we need to talk about something to do with biology. So what are amphibians? Amphibians are part of the vertebrate class Chordata because they have backbones. They live part of their lives on water, and they live part of their lives inland. So about 90% of amphibian species are frogs. So we know that frogs go through eggs, tadpoles, a transitional period, and then full frogs. They go through a metamorphosis. And so part of that time they live in water, and part of that time they can live on land. Although many frogs that are water-loving creatures, as the word amphibian implies, stay near water. Amphibians are cold-blooded, and they have no scales or hair. Amphibians include the frogs and the toads, the salamanders, and some of these animals, such as newts and salamanders, can look very similar to lizards. But be careful when you look at a creature that has a tail and a lizard appearance to note if they have scales or not. Lizards have scales and amphibians do not. All right, so amphibians do not necessarily require to live in water all of the time, but they do require water for their young. They do require their water for the reproduction purposes. And amphibians are often ecological indicators. If you have amphibians, you can tell if how good the water source is or if there is a water source in an area. All right, and amphibians go from their young, such as a tadpole, needing to use gills to breathe oxygen to having a respiratory ability with lungs or something similar that they're able to breathe on air. Alright, so amphibians are a unique class of animals that have backbones, live on water and land, and are cold-blooded with no scales or hair. That is all we have for today's lesson in Basic Bits and Pieces Biology. I hope you enjoyed learning about amphibians and frogs, and I hope you have a great day. Take care.